Hello, my name's Dennis Slattery. I'm Chief Executive of EDM Works. I'd like to introduce you to our white paper, Transform Your Data Governance by Redefining and Reskilling the Organisation. I co-authored this with two of my colleagues. Saranjan Som, who's the Vice President of Financial Services at Hitachi Consulting, and Serif Otterborn, who is a Specialist Solutions Consultant at Hitachi Consulting. In finance, we have had computerized data systems for over 50 years, and it's quite clear that in the next 50 years, data is going to become ever more increasingly important to financial organizations and their relationship with both customers and regulators. There is a general acceptance whenever you go inside a banking, insurance or investment organization that all is not well in the way we manage data, spreadsheets, inconsistent data, siloed data, and so on. Either something is broken in the way we approach managing that data, or we are misdiagnosing the nature of data and the nature of how we as organizations need to go about managing that data. So something needs to change. So what we've done in our white paper is broken it down into 4 sections, and in section 1 we've gone through as best we can the challenges that are facing organisations in the new economy, disruption, challenger organisations, all sorts of different technologies that are coming down. And we pose the question about, is trusted data the issue, or is it more profound than that? Is it actually that we need to reskill and reorganise the organisation so the organisation is trustworthy to produce good data? In part 2, we look at new insights. Some of this is a consolidation of existing best practice content, and some of it is genuinely a new way of looking at data and organisations, because there is this combination of getting the organisation to understand and manage data better. That's the challenge that we're trying to get at. And that leads us to part 3, which is how to apply these new insights into data at an ecosystem level, at a systemic level across the organisation. So there's challenges for leadership and what leaders need to step up to do. There's challenges for practitioners on the ground who are working with data. There's challenges for subject matter experts. There's challenges for back-end people, data scientists, all of whom have to work with data in different ways. So we need to think about how to apply those insights. And part 3 is all about helping you become self-sustaining to do it yourselves. Part 4 is then about things that we can do to help you if you wish to accelerate this transformation or accelerate any of these processes associated with this. Any discussion around reskilling or reorganisation has to be relevant to stakeholders. So let's start with our number 1 stakeholder, the customer. The customer is concerned about product quality. They're buying something, they want to know it's good quality. And that quality is measured over a product lifetime. It's not just a one-off thing when they initial purchase and they get that boost of confidence from having a lovely vehicle or whatever it is they're buying. It is about fitness for purpose, but then it's a relationship in terms of ongoing service. If a remediation is necessary, is it effective and pain-free? Did an individual within the organisation take ownership of that issue rather than leaving it all to the customer to sort out for themselves? Was the overall engagement over time appropriate, neither too intrusive nor detached? And in this increasing age of data security and social media, was relevant care, confidentiality and security over personal data, was that exercised sufficiently? Did the customer feel good about this? And if the customer likes that experience or enjoys it, then they have an experience of quality across the whole of that life cycle. And that is how trust is generated. Trust is easily lost, it's hard to generate, and it's hard to maintain, and it takes effort. But with that trust comes repeat business, comes referral to friends and colleagues, and that results in growth, which gives stability and security to the actual organisation itself. So trust isn't something that happens by accident, and that's whether it's trusted data, trusted organisation. Trust is an engineered outcome, and the provider, in this case the motor car experience, the provider has engineered the customer's trust, And they've done it by making sure that in each of the areas the customer engages, that there is functional competence, that people know what to do. There are the processes, machines and everything else necessary for that customer experience and that engagement to be good. And that happened because there was top-down orchestration. Somebody, leadership, has worked out what it takes across the life cycle of engagement with that customer, and they've made sure that there is an orchestration of processes and functions around that experience. And they've also made sure that people on the ground who engage with the customer in all those different scenarios, they are well trained and they collaborate, and where there are failings there is feedback that is available to go to management and leadership so that changes can be made, and we get this fourth thing, which is continuous organisational learning. Now that foundation for trust is built on many different things. One of them is individual competence. Another is personal accountability, which is people stepping up and saying, yes, I own that activity, I own this issue. And people are not there all the time. They're off on sick or they're on holiday. There is a whole group dynamic and there is a whole organisational culture, so that whilst people are personally accountable, the group as a whole can carry the strain of making sure that things need to happen when they do, to the appropriate level of quality that is necessary. And all of this needs data. It needs complete, accurate and timely data in order for this orchestration to work. And underneath that, there are a whole series of processes, systems and tools, and all of that needs to be surrounded by an ecosystem-wide risk and control framework. So if any part of that orchestration isn't working properly, it's quickly detected and remediation action is put in place. And the same rules apply in financial services, but with significant variations. We again start with the customer. He or her may have a whole series of financial products, credit, cash, insurance products, investment products. And the organisation may interact, the supplier may interact with that customer in a number of different ways, through mobile, through comparison websites, through corporate websites, increasingly through IoT type sensors. And the other major difference is that whilst in the previous example, data was used for orchestration or for actually managing particular processes, in finance, data is actually an integral part of the product. A credit card statement is simply a set of data around that customer, and the customer trusts that it is his or her credit card that he's actually received information about, or they've logged on online and seen the right account. And as we know, that hasn't always been the case. So trusted data is actually paramount to the engagement with the customer. And in order to ensure that that happens, or to enforce things that that does happen, we have a whole series of regulators looking after prudential aspects to make sure that organisations are systemically sound. We have conduct-based organisations to make sure that people are fit and proper and that the organisation has appropriate conduct rules to deal with customers. And we have organisations such as the ICO concerned about protection of personal data and prevention of personal data breaches. And then of course we have European level organisations such as ESMA, who are concerned to make sure that investment banks operate consistently across the EU. And then in addition to that, we have global standards organisations like IFRS, who are seeking to make sure that things are managed consistently or reported consistently on a global basis for different types of sectors. There are lots of challenges with this current situation. We have siloed data stores, we have incomplete data lakes, we have inconsistency across data, and we have a very poor framework for accountability, business ownership of specific data, and that makes it difficult to get remediation done effectively across the whole organisation. And of course, the world is not static. We have machine learning, we have artificial intelligence, we have connected devices increasingly forming part of the ecosystem between the customer, the company, the regulator, and so on. Now, all of these things rely on high quality data that is trustworthy. There is a tremendous need for trust. So let's come back to our original assertion. Trust is engineered based on a systemic understanding of our stakeholders and of the engagement activities we have throughout the entire life cycle. Trusted data is the natural outcome from an organisation that understands what needs to be done and has all the capabilities necessary to do it. Now clearly that isn't quite the case at the moment, so something needs to change. And in order for that change to happen, we need new insights that answer the question why are we changing. So we need new insights into data and organisation, and then we need a new approach to doing things whereby we adapt some of the things we're already doing and we do some new things as well. So we've identified 7 key insights that are relevant in terms of changing the way we manage data. The first is that opportunities exist outside of the organisation. So we've discussed stakeholders, and it's important to identify all stakeholders, understand our interaction with them throughout their life cycle, and with that understanding we can then look at how we apply new technologies, new techniques, new processes, new ideas at different parts of the ecosystem, whether it's in distribution or whether it's directly to the customer. The second insight is about the nature of data. Now, data is a big word. It means a lot of things to a lot of different people. In general, data is a reflection of something in the real world, or it's a projection of what that real world might look like. Now, the more we understand about the real world, the more accurate will be our understanding of data, and we can validate looking at our data designs and clarify whether or not they reflect the thing in the real world that we're trying to work with. Now, the challenge we have as data people is generally we are integrating data from other systems rather than creating it directly and modelling the real world in our own systems. We're taking data from lots of different systems. Each of those systems has an interpretation of the real world as defined by the developer or the designer of that system, and that may well be incomplete. It will certainly be different if we're integrating data from 4 or 5 different systems. So we always have to understand what it is we're trying to put together and assemble in our data stores. We have to be cognizant of the fact there may be different identifiers, identities used, different structures, different timings, and all sorts of different things that come at us from the various systems that we have to integrate data from in order to build up our picture of the real world. The third point is that data is at the heart of the organisation. So again, we talked about the different stakeholders, customers and regulators, and we know that there are certain key data sets around customer data, product data, transaction data, position data, risks, whatever it might be, that are common to lots of different stakeholders. So we need to make sure that we identify and ensure that we manage those as consistently as possible. These are the gold dust data assets of the organisation. The fourth insight relates to the purpose of organisation. Now, we have to remind ourselves that we organise to achieve our organisational goals, to achieve the mission of the company. Now, currently, we are not organising optimally because we are having too many problems with data. So we need to look through the organisation and we need to see it as a collection of people that have a lot of human energy, and it's those people that will transform the organisation into the organisation that it needs to become in order to generate trusted data as a natural outcome. So that means we have to think through about ensuring leadership have a better understanding of what they need to do in terms of orchestrating and sanctioning the development and enhancement of capability. And then we need to think through the current organisation structure and how certain roles at senior level and at an operational level need to be augmented so that data management becomes a natural part of their day-to-day jobs. Insight number 5 relates to the way we store data and what data we should store. World-use data lakes and discoveries. There is effectively an infinite amount of data that any organisation can collect these days. We can't deal with infinite amounts of data, we can't make sense of it. So it is absolutely crucial that an organisation figures out just who its stakeholders are, figures out what its business model is, and then scopes out the type of data that it wants in order to support those stakeholders and deliver its business purpose. Now that's a scoping issue, and then within that, whether or not it stores that data in one data lake, 20, less is more in general, less is better, but it's important that the organisation figures out how it's going to organise that data, and that in each of the different data sets that it has, that there is clarity about identification of that data so that people can link data together. And when you choose to put external data in, as you will increasingly, that you can then link that, analyse it to make appropriate discoveries that will help you innovate or support regulation or support profitability analysis or whatever it might be. Insight 6 relates to metadata as the new management tool. Now, because there is so much data, we need metadata to tell us about what data we've got, where is it, who's accountable, and what the quality is. And top management, or all management, need that information relevant to the particular job roles that they're carrying out. Because without that, data is at the heart of their organisation, it's at the heart of their processes. So without the knowledge of that metadata, they can't do their jobs properly. So metadata has assumed a completely new significance in this current data-driven world that we live in. Insight 7 is the learning ability of the organisation. A quote from Peter Senge, who's a world-leading expert in systems engineering: "The only sustainable competitive advantage is an organisation's ability to learn faster than the competition." Remember from our earlier example with the motor industry, an organisation these days is an orchestration of a number of different competent individual functions. And what we're looking at with future organisations, those successful organisations, will be those that can transform all the different aspects of that orchestration, collaboration and functional capability, and continue to develop and change in line with stakeholder requirements, new technology. The learning ability of the organisation is absolutely paramount. To go with those insights, you need a new approach that is detailed in the white paper, in the data governance framework section, where we take you through the complete set of processes from current state assessment all the way through to the core data management activities, and then making sure that the entire framework is integrated with the business so that everything is traced back to satisfying in some way some stakeholder somewhere. Now, we will do further videos, and in those videos we'll take you through more detailed examples, more detailed views of the individual insights or of particular aspects of the approach. Finally, I would like to thank you for your attention in listening to this video. I hope it's been informative. If you require any further information, then please get in contact with us on the details on the page. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.